All right, so let's talk about these articles about the machines that we're suddenly seeing everywhere. Let's talk about Ms. Crockett bringing forth an inquiry in Congress regarding EI, thanks to someone's live statements that they made. And let's talk about that security meeting that never happened. Yeah, some of y'all were asking. It didn't happen. Don't worry, we're going to go through all of it. But before I start, let me just say this. I promise nothing. I'm not giving you a date. Don't come into my comments later and say that I promised you something. All right. I said I would give it a couple days, and then I had some folks reach out and I said, okay, I'm going to give it to the end of the month before I really lean into the parties and the whole like being abandoned because what the fuck. But now that we are safely past the point where anything Team Blue said or did could be viewed as some form of interference of the plan. Okay. We're starting to see some of that information we saw months ago resurface and be acknowledged instead of ignored. Okay. So, and a lot of you are like starting to tag me in some of it. And yes, it is exciting to start to see it mentioned. And you have to search for it sometimes because they are trying to hide it in all the depressing stuff that's intentional. But multiple states are reporting that there were issues with machines, irregularities with counts, etc. Signs of manipulation okay. The articles are popping up in different states. At the same time, we had Ms. Crockett and another congressperson, thanks to someone, making an admission 3 times on live television that sparked wild conspiracies. How dare he, I know it's Congress, so who knows what will happen. But the point that they're talking about it is a sign and proof that these aren't things that were being ignored. These are things that couldn't be brought up yet. And for anyone who doesn't understand that and who doesn't understand the part about collateral damage and how big this is, baby, go to a beginner stream for that. This is not the channel. We are at the intermediate advanced level. We've been following this for a while now. We cannot stop and go back and explain to you why, but this is bigger than what you think, and it's bigger than just the smelly one and this one seat and this one thing. It's way, 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 way bigger. For example, that meeting that never happened, right? So the instant that person got the crown, okay, their team ran and had DHS dismiss every advisory committee that was looking at Ruski, hacking, Chinese takeaway, cybersecurity, the teams that Miss Ma'am was talking to, okay, citing they were unsafe, they might be compromised. All right, they shut down Homeland Security because it might be unsafe and compromised. And then that meeting that was supposed to happen never happened. And yet they put Tom Cotton in place of whoever was on that House chair, who is not someone who should be there. And they did that like the night before. So whatever was going to be discussed, he was real worried about. And he made sure that it got shut down quick. Like he was still partying and they made sure it got shut down. Okay. While you think about that, and before I remind you about the whole G7 rapid response statement, I want you to remember way back when Romaine Lettuce said they had intel that this place, okay, was, sorry guys, this might be long, but bear with me, was working with, well, not them working with, but the algorithm was being used and accounts were being used. Funny side note, you notice how since all these guys can now pump their apps full of AI profiles that aren't real, they can make it look like it's successful when it's not and get the stocks to rise. That's an interesting side effect, isn't it? Okay, sorry, I got distracted. Let me go back. That place had intel that this space was being used to spread information that is mis and dis in favor of the Ruski-backed candidate, and that Ruski and Chinese takeaway were kind of working in cahoots to affect their test, okay? So when you remember that over here, while we didn't want it to go, no one would touch it, no one would save it, they weren't listening to us. We were like, why aren't they listening to us? They just don't care. You notice it was the criminal team that was like, oh no, we got it, we want to save it. And at the 11th hour, they come out and put on their red hat and go, actually, we've been one of them the whole time. And suddenly we're getting emails every day telling us to thank daddy for saving them. You understand what I'm saying? Okay. it starts to make sense. And man, I wouldn't want to think that about this place, but okay, it starts to make sense. Now, going back to the G7 and the rapid response letter that they released a couple days before the ceremony, where they said they're going to take action, that multiple countries, USA, Canada, France, Germany, UK, among them, there were a couple more, had evidence of EI. Ruski involvement, social media being used, etc., etc. Okay. From the whispers so far, I believe Canada is set to release their report for us towards the end of the month. I don't know about the rest of them and what they were all trying to do with it, but the point is, it almost feels like certain people were trying to make sure that whatever the USA had to contribute to that gets shuffled away, or those committees get shut down, or, burying some things. It's not going to help because there are multiple nations that have similar intel already compiled. But the fact that now we're starting to see reports, you're starting to hear whispers of requests for inquiries, you're starting to see some of the Again, I promise nothing. I promise nothing. You should continue to behave as though nothing is coming to save you, because that's just a way you should be, period. But for those that were looking for pieces to digest, that are like, okay, I'm willing to give it till the end of the month before I freak all the way out. I'm just saying, that's me. That's me. Before I freak all the way out, I'm going to give it to the end of the month, because it's starting to get interesting. It's starting to get interesting for several reasons across several boards. So, all right, let's see. Let's see.